You are listening to the It's Your Time podcast, and I'm your host, Certified Life Coach Michelle Arnold Burke. In today's episode, I'm discussing road trips and coaching. Welcome to the It's Your Time podcast, the podcast where busy professionals like you get the practical solutions and support you need to gain control of your schedule so you can strive to be the best in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. If you're looking to increase your energy and decrease your stress, you are in the right place. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to the podcast, friends. It's nice to be back. We were away for a couple of days and it rained a lot. Elsa came to join us. So much fun, right? But we made the best of it. We always do. Team M&M. Team M&M actually is celebrating 16 years married tomorrow. Holy smokes. We dated for 7 years prior. Mark thought he was safe by saying that we would get married once the Red Sox win the World Series. And then they did. Back then, he thought he still had another 86 years. So it's interesting because we went away, and I think the drive there is not necessarily the most fun for Mark. And as we were making our way east, I thought driving can really be an excellent opportunity to learn a lot about people, about life. Life is a highway, right? And a lot of coaching tools or concepts can come in pretty handy. So today, I thought I would share with you just some of the road stories, which might hopefully have you cracking up a little bit and really just kind of have fun with this and intertwine some tools that might be helpful and just really enjoy the ride. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. And I think, oh my gosh, it was so interesting because as I was thinking about this podcast, I recalled a different road trip with some friends, even before I met Mark. I was not driving, and I was told to look for, I think it was 270. And then all of a sudden, we arrived to the toll booths. Yes, back then, there was not Easy Pass, or if it was, we didn't have it. And everyone is looking at me. I was completely confused, but apparently I was supposed to be looking for $2.70 for the toll. And I had been looking for the next road, which I thought was I-270. So I'm not even sure if there is such a road. But here is what this can teach us: the importance of communication. How many times do we think others should just know what we want? And then we get really annoyed when they don't do it. But, my friend, we have to ask for what we want. People are not mind readers. And I have learned this and continue to learn it, sometimes the hard way. But a lot of you are too busy taking care of everyone around you that you don't even bother to ask for what you want or need. And then live in this state of kind of victimish mentality, right? I've been there, I get it. Sometimes it's uncomfortable to have the courageous conversation and say what we want to say. But just think about it. It's usually not super comfortable when we don't have that conversation either, right? And it's funny because a lot of times patients will ask if I have some sort of clinical background. I'm like, nope, I have my master's in communication. To which I usually get that head tilt, confused look, and I simply remind them, we are communicating, right? You guys, communication in your personal life, communication in the workplace, especially in the workplace as far as follow-up and communicating deadlines. All of that is so important. And remember, communication has a few steps involved. So what you want to be sure of is that you are clear, because there is what you say, there is what you intend to have it mean, there is what is heard, and there is what the other person makes it mean, and then how they react. So I always like to ask, am I making sense? Just so we can ensure that we are all on the same page. And this is not even getting into the nonverbals, right? That's an entirely other story. Okay, So let's get back to the most recent trip Mark and I just took. First off, I drive. And I may have mentioned once or twice that I might be a bit of a control enthusiast. I prefer that label over control freak, and feel free to use it if it works for you. And I think maybe in a past life, someone left me somewhere because I always want to be the one to drive. Plus, we all know the rule, right? Driver gets music choice. So, Pink Radio beats out Pearl Jam, and we are on our way. But on a serious note, the controlling, pay attention to it. Pay attention to if it serves you. A lot of times, we think people should do things the way we want them to do it, right? And that doesn't always mean it's the best way. And we talk about stress here a lot, and I assure you, when you are able to show up in your life with a little more acceptance and a little more letting go, you will see the benefits of less stress. We cannot control the world. We cannot control others. And let me tell you, I promise you here and now, if I ever figure that out, I will do an entire podcast series for you. But for now, we can only control our responses to all of it. And that's the best news ever, right? So when you find yourself all worked up about how someone didn't do what you wanted or something didn't go the exact way you wanted it to, ask yourself this simple question. How is this happening for me? Instead of, why is this happening to me? It's such a more powerful place to come from. Okay, so now we're driving along, and I am telling you, there is not enough of those, I think folks still call them the holy shit handles, right? Yeah, there are not enough of them in the car for Mark. I can see him out of my peripheral vision, and I'm not quite sure if he's trying to use the imaginary brake over there or jump out of his seat. And I am just dying laughing in my head as I'm singing Poker Face with my gal Gaga. So this brings me to anxiety. Anxiety is something a lot of us live with, and it's all at varying levels, right? And I want to point out in this example, it's not my driving that causes the anxiety for Mark. It's his thinking. And I think some thoughts might have been that I was too close to rubbing up against the wheels of the tractor trailer, which, if I'm being fully transparent, I have been hit by a tractor trailer on the highway before. I'll come back to that. He also thought I was driving too fast. He doesn't like when I try to help people understand the rules of the road. You know, like the one that says you pass on the left. Yes, I am that person that will sometimes speed up a little just to make sure you don't pass me on the right. It's funny, right? For the longest time, I've said I'm not competitive, maybe a little. And for the record, if you're that crazy person weaving in and out and I see you coming and you're playing an entirely different game, different rules, you can have that. And by the way, I often think those people don't see big picture because oftentimes we all end up in the same location at the same time anyhow, right? So back to Mark. Those are just some of the things that he might have thought caused him the anxiety. But the truth is, it's not my driving that causes the anxiety, because if it was my driving, everyone would be anxious with my driving. And I mean, there are a lot of folks who don't like my driving, but not everyone. And here's the other thing that I want to say about anxiety and driving. I like to think that anxiety can come along for the ride each day. And a lot of people have some anxiety. And when I talk about it here, I'm not talking about medication needing anxiety. There is for sure a place for medication and anxiety. I'm talking about the anxiety that a lot of us live with in this world just day to day. And instead of thinking that something is wrong with it and resisting it, you can also consider it to be along for the ride. We know it's going to be with us for the day, but it doesn't get to drive the day. It doesn't even get to decide the music, right? It's just there. And knowing it's not something that you have to keep pushing down allows you an extra layer of freedom from it. And here's another way to look at it. Think of a beach ball. We can try to push it down under the water and keep it down and keep pushing, but eventually it pops up, and usually with a bit more vigor, right? The other option is that we can just let the beach ball kind of hang out next to us, just floating on the water. There is such a difference, and it can really make a difference in how you approach the day. And speaking of anxiety and energy, if any of you are a bit of an empath, you can likely feel other people's energy, right? And it's important to check in on what is yours and what is theirs. You don't have to take on the other person's energy. We are all responsible for the energy we bring to any situation. And knowing the difference can be super helpful. Oh, and side note, since Mark was so nice to tell me the sign said it's 65 miles per hour or it's 55 miles per hour here, I had to clarify with him that once we got off the exit and it had that sign that had the tractor trailer on 2 wheels, did that mean we were supposed to be on 2 wheels? I just love to mess with him. And speaking of the tractor trailer, I'll let this be the last story. I have a lot of driving stories, especially since I drive nearly 3,000 miles or more a month for many years. I think that makes me an excellent driver, right? Anyhow, the tractor trailer that hit me, it was in New Jersey. I was on my way to training for a job that I had before this one, and the day before, I got lost and I was a little late to the class. I used to get lost a lot, like even in a parking garage. So they were pretty strict in training, and they said you cannot be late the next day. The tractor trailer hit my quarter panel and side mirror when I was changing lanes, and we both just kept driving. And I'm not even sure that the driver realized what happened, but I knew I could not be late. Focus, people. Focus, right? Or maybe that's more my not wanting to disappoint anyone, which for all of us people pleasers is an entirely different podcast. But either way, it's kind of crazy now thinking about it. So as I close, one of the craziest things might be that I chose my college based on not having to drive on a highway. And I think I've mentioned that before. I used to be so afraid to drive. I know, it's so nuts, right? But that just shows you the final concept that I want to share with you today. You do not look to your past for evidence of what you can do in the future. We look forward most of the time while we're driving, right? Like sometimes we look in the rearview mirror, but that's really just to kind of check in. It doesn't determine the path. The past does not determine where we are capable of going or what we are capable of doing. Remember that. You get to choose the destination always. So let's make sure it's a good one, right? Okay, friends, thanks for being here today. It's been a fun ride, and I want to let you know that I just opened 2 spots for my one-on-one private coaching program, and I would love to help you be able to do more of what you want, excel in your career, but without the stress and overwhelm. So let me know that you're ready. You can just reach out on the socials, mostly Instagram and Facebook. I'm at Michelle Burke Coaching. Let me know you're interested, or email contact@michelleburkecoaching.com. We can hop on a quick call to answer any questions, and if it's a good fit, we get started. Okay, friends, now that's what I have for you today. Let's circle back next week, but for now, stay safe and make it a great day. Take care. Did you know you can take this work to a deeper level with me one-on-one? Go to michelleburkecoaching.com and click on Get Started to begin.